Ladies and gentlemen, in a world screaming for your attention, focus is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. And not just any focus. I'm talking about ruthless, undiluted, unapologetic focus on what truly matters to you. The truth is, most people never find out what that is. They follow the crowd. They chase likes instead of purpose. They scroll endlessly wondering why life feels so empty. But not you. Not anymore. Because today you choose to tune out the noise. Chase too many rabbits and you catch none. But chase one, you're one. And you change your life. To do that, you must develop faith. Not in what you see, but in what you feel. Faith in your inner voice. Faith in the value of your mission. Faith that the seed you plant today will bloom tomorrow, even if the world calls it foolish. And don't waste time learning everything. Learn what serves your goal. Master your craft, not every craft. Specialization makes you powerful. Generalization makes you busy. And when it gets hard, and it will, stay with it. Don't stop. Don't pivot just because it's uncomfortable. Persist. Because those who succeed aren't the smartest or luckiest. They're the ones who refused to quit. Finally, protect your circle. Energy is more contagious than any virus. Align with those who fan your flame, not those who smother it. A single believer beside you is worth more than 1,000 doubters around you. So, what really matters to you? Whatever it is, focus on it, and nothing else. Definiteness of purpose is the cornerstone of all achievement. Without it, life becomes a series of scattered efforts, diluted ambitions, and endless distractions. It is the mental clarity that separates the drifter from the doer, the wandering soul from the focused achiever. It is the conscious decision to take control of your direction instead of leaving your future to chance, external circumstances, or the influence of others. To possess definiteness of purpose means to know exactly what you want. Not vaguely, not generally, but with precision. It's not enough to say, I want to be successful. That statement has no power unless success is clearly defined. What kind of success? In what field? By when? For what reason? A man who says he wants wealth but cannot describe how much, by what means, or why, is not serious. He is simply daydreaming. True purpose is exact like coordinates on a map. Without that level of clarity, your mind cannot fully engage, your energy cannot fully align, and your actions cannot remain consistent. Most people live reactively rather than purposefully. They respond to life instead of designing it. They wake up each day without a central aim and allow their environment, habits, and social influences to dictate their next move. Without a fixed target, their potential scatters in every direction and ultimately amounts to very little. But definiteness of purpose brings concentration. It is like the magnifying glass that channels scattered sunlight into a focused beam, hot enough to set a fire. That same principle applies to the human mind. When your mental energy is spread across too many wants, tasks, and whims, your power is diminished. But when you channel all of it into one definite chief aim, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your thoughts, your habits, your words, your surroundings all begin to align around that singular direction. It is no exaggeration to say that a person with a clear, definite purpose has already traveled half the journey. That level of certainty activates your subconscious mind to work on your behalf 24 hours a day. It sharpens your ability to recognize opportunity. It alerts you to connections, insights, and chances that someone without a clear aim would simply overlook. Your purpose begins to shape your perception. What others dismiss as irrelevant, you spot as essential. What others avoid as too difficult, you embrace as necessary. It is because a definite purpose breeds commitment, and commitment gives birth to courage. Definiteness of purpose also inoculates you against the influence of opinion. When you know what you want and why, the noise of critics, doubters, and sideline commentators fades into irrelevance. You no longer seek approval for your path because you've already approved it for yourself. You walk with conviction, and that conviction is magnetic. People are drawn to those who know where they are going. Resources, mentors, partners, and opportunities are far more likely to appear when you carry yourself as someone with a mission, not someone who's simply waiting for life to happen. A definite purpose transforms how you use your time. You stop saying yes to every invitation. You stop giving your hours to things that feel urgent but serve no deeper goal. You begin to cut ruthlessly. Distractions are no longer entertained, they are eliminated. Because your time, once wasted without consequence, now becomes sacred. Every minute becomes a brick in the construction of your vision. There is no room for idle drift when you are building something meaningful. But definiteness of purpose is not something you stumble into. It must be chosen. It requires deep self-honesty. You must dig beneath the surface of what the world tells you to want. You must strip away inherited dreams, cultural programming, and shallow desires that don't belong to you. This process takes courage. It means rejecting comfort. It means turning inward and asking yourself the hard questions. What do I really want? What am I willing to sacrifice for it? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Most avoid these questions because the answers require responsibility. But those who dare to answer them unlock the beginning of personal power. There is another truth about definiteness of purpose. It is not about knowing how. The path does not need to be clear at the beginning, only the destination must be. The how will reveal itself in response to your commitment. Action reveals answers. Doors open only to those who knock with purpose, not to those who stand back waiting for a sign. You do not need to know every step of the staircase to take the first one, but you do need to know which direction you're climbing. Purpose is also a filtering system. When decisions arise, you don't need to overthink them. You ask one question, does this serve my purpose? If the answer is no, the decision is already made. This cuts away the fog of indecision that paralyzes so many. With a definite aim, life becomes clearer, simpler, more intentional. You begin to move not out of pressure, but from passion. Not because you have to, but because you're compelled by something bigger than fear, obligation, or routine. And perhaps most importantly, definiteness of purpose instills meaning into struggle. Pain without purpose leads to despair, but pain in pursuit of a purpose becomes fuel. The long nights, the failures, the rejections, they don't defeat you because you know why you're enduring them. Purpose makes the process worthwhile, even when it's hard. Burning desire is the invisible force that turns wishes into will, dreams into direction, and goals into reality. It is not mere wanting. It is not idle hope. It is a deep, unrelenting, almost obsessive craving for an outcome you've claimed as your own. It occupies your thoughts in the quiet moments. It drives you when others have stopped. It pushes you forward when the evidence around you tells you to quit. Burning desire is the inner fire that refuses to be extinguished. But the difference between wanting something and desiring it with intensity is the difference between a candle and a wildfire. A candle flickers and fades with a breeze. A wildfire consumes everything in its path. A wish is passive. A desire, when truly burning, is active. It is alive. It demands movement. It pulls on your emotions, your mind, your time. It does not rest, and it does not let you rest until progress is made. Burning desire begins with clarity, but it is fueled by emotion. You must not only know what you want, you must feel it in your bones. You must taste the reward before it arrives. You must visualize the outcome so vividly that it becomes more real to you than the current circumstances you live in. The world may not see it yet, but you must see it, and more than that, you must feel it. Emotion is the energy that transforms a static goal into a dynamic force. Without feeling, the goal has no magnetism. Without desire, the vision remains just a picture in your head. It is common to hear people say they want success, but most people merely prefer it. They like the idea of it. They are fascinated by the rewards, but not possessed by the vision. They do not hunger for it, And because they lack the hunger, they also lack the stamina. As soon as discomfort, delay, or failure appears, their effort withers. But the one who has a burning desire is different. The person with burning desire does not fold at the first sign of resistance. They see resistance as a toll gate on the road to their destiny. They expect it, prepare for it, and face it head on. Burning desire is not rational, it is not logical, it rarely makes sense to the outside world. Others will call it obsession. Others will call it impractical. But desire does not operate on conventional timelines or societal standards. It answers to no one but the one who carries it. It thrives in solitude. It grows in silence, and it becomes most powerful when it is doubted. Because the presence of obstacles is what sharpens it. You know that. You do not strengthen a muscle without tension, and you do not refine desire without resistance. Burning desire will change your relationship with failure. Where others see defeat, you see feedback. Where others see rejection, you see redirection. You stop treating adversity as evidence that you're not meant to succeed, and you begin to see it as evidence that you're close. You become persistent, not out of obligation, but out of necessity. Quitting is not an option, because your desire is too alive to ignore. It has taken root inside you. It has altered the way you think. It has rewired your perception. You cannot go back to normal because you are no longer the same person you were before the desire took hold. This kind of desire does not coexist with excuses. It eliminates them. You stop justifying inaction. You stop explaining delays. You stop blaming circumstances, because when your desire is truly burning, your mind shifts into ownership. You take responsibility for the outcome. You claim the goal not as something you wish for, but something that is already yours. And now you are simply doing the work to collect it. You begin to make sacrifices, not because someone told you to, but because you're driven to. You give up comfort willingly. You stop trading your time for cheap entertainment or fleeting pleasures. The desire has recalibrated your value system. It has elevated your standards. The things that once seemed important, approval, fitting in, staying comfortable, begin to lose their hold on you. Your eyes are on something higher now, something bigger, something urgent. And urgency is a key trait of burning desire. Not panic, not pressure, but urgency. A sacred impatience with delay, a deep intolerance for stagnation. You are no longer satisfied with someday. You are no longer okay with eventually. You want to move. You want to build. You want to live the vision you've carried for too long. You feel it calling you, pulling you, demanding more from you than you've given in the past. The world does not give rewards to the one who wants most softly. It gives them to the one who wants most deeply, to the one who burns inside for it, to the one who wakes up thinking about it, goes to sleep thinking about it, and lives every day with that vision etched into their soul. Because when the desire burns hot enough, you stop waiting for opportunities, you create them. You stop needing motivation from others, you generate your own. You stop asking for permission, you act. You no longer fear the work because your desire has outgrown your excuses. Burning desire puts you into motion long before the conditions are perfect. It gives you the courage to start, the energy to continue, and the stamina to finish. Faith in the unseen is the inner certainty that what you seek already exists, even when your senses give you no evidence. It is the unwavering belief in the invisible foundation beneath your vision. It is the silent agreement between your soul and your future that no one else can see, touch, or understand. Faith in the unseen is not a passive hope. It is a deliberate decision to believe in possibility with such intensity that you act on it as if it were already real. Everything you now see once existed only in someone's mind. Every bridge, every skyscraper, Every invention, every breakthrough began as an idea, unseen, unproven, and intangible. But someone believed in that idea. Someone saw beyond the physical world. Someone held that vision in the darkness until light caught up to it. Faith is the bridge between what is and what could be. Without it, nothing new is ever created. Without it, every dream dies before it's born. Faith is not just belief. It is belief in action. It is trusting your internal compass when external signs point nowhere. It is the refusal to be ruled by current reality. It is the choice to define your path not by what is, but by what will be, because you've decided it must be. Faith is what keeps the builder laying bricks when no structure yet stands. It is what keeps the writer typing when no one is reading. It is what keeps the entrepreneur pitching when no one is buying. It is what keeps the dreamer walking when the road is invisible. Faith in the unseen requires a disciplined mind. The world is full of distractions, critics, and logic-based arguments that will try to pull you back into the safe zone of what can be measured, predicted, and guaranteed. But the life you want exists beyond that zone. Faith means turning your back on the false comfort of certainty and embracing the powerful discomfort of belief. It means hearing your own voice louder than the opinions of others. It means trusting in the value of a thing before it proves itself to anyone else. There will be moments when doubt speaks louder than vision. There will be days when evidence appears to contradict your goal. Your bank account may say one thing. Your results may say another. The clock may keep ticking while nothing seems to move. But faith is not based on results. Faith is what you use before the results come. Faith is your fuel when proof is nowhere in sight. If you wait for evidence to believe, you will always be too late, because belief creates the conditions for evidence, not the other way around. Faith in the unseen is not about blind optimism. It is not about denying reality. It is about transcending it. It is the understanding that reality is not fixed. It is flexible. It bends to the will of the committed. It shifts under the hands of those who dare to shape it. Faith gives you the courage to begin when others wait. It gives you the endurance to continue when others stop. It gives you the resilience to rise when others give up. When you carry faith in the unseen, you are no longer limited by your current skills, resources, or circumstances. You understand that those things are temporary. They are raw materials, not the finished product. You stop measuring yourself by what you have, and you start measuring yourself by what you are becoming. Your self-image shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone who might succeed. You begin to operate as someone who must succeed. Your identity begins to rise to meet your belief. Faith is also the root of bold decision-making. People without faith hesitate. They second-guess. They procrastinate. They wait for the right time, the right connection, the right sign. But people of faith move forward. They understand that clarity often comes after commitment, that confidence grows through action, that momentum is built, not given. When you move in faith, the next step becomes visible after you take the first, not before, and not while thinking, only while moving. Faith in the unseen gives you presence. You stop obsessing over the past. You stop fearing the future. You learn to plant yourself in the now, and you begin working with what you have, where you are, with full trust that each step will be enough, that each moment holds power, that each effort brings you closer, even if progress is invisible to the eye. Faith is contagious. When you live with it, speak with it, and act from it, others feel it. They may not understand your vision, but they will be moved by your conviction. That energy draws people to you. Resources, support, and opportunities begin to emerge from unlikely places. Why? Because the world responds not to desperation, but to certainty. And certainty born from faith is magnetic. Faith in the unseen turns obstacles into training. It transforms pain into preparation. It shifts rejection from a wound into a lesson. It allows you to interpret every delay not as a denial, but as part of the delay. The path may not be visible, but it becomes walkable the moment you trust it's there. And that trust must come from within. Specialized knowledge is the weapon that separates the generalist from the master, the mediocre from the exceptional, and the hopeful from the powerful. In a world drowning in information, what matters most is not how much you know, but how precise your knowledge is and how directly it serves your purpose. General knowledge is common, scattered, and largely useless without direction, but specialized knowledge, targeted, refined, and applied, becomes a lever strong enough to move the world. Too many people are collectors of facts but builders of nothing. They consume endlessly, reading everything, listening to everyone, trying to absorb it all. But learning without intention becomes a distraction. When you gather knowledge without direction, you are only filling your mind with noise. There is no focus. There is no utility. The energy spent on acquisition does not translate to results because there is no alignment between what is known and what is needed. Specialized knowledge flips that equation. It begins with a purpose, then seeks only what is necessary to advance it. A person who understands what they want can identify exactly what must be learned, mastered, and applied to achieve it. Their learning becomes surgical. Their time becomes valuable. They do not read to pass the time. They read to acquire tools. They do not study for the sake of appearance. They study to sharpen their edge. Everything they take in has one goal: to empower their mission. There is no space for trivia, no time for indulgence. They are building something, and only bricks that fit the blueprint are worth stacking. Some specialized knowledge is never static. It must evolve as your path evolves. It must deepen with your pursuit. You cannot stop learning once you've started building, because your environment will change, your challenges will grow, your ambition will raise its standards. What got you to the base of the mountain will not get you to the summit. You must constantly refine, adapt, and upgrade the knowledge you carry, not out of obligation, but out of necessity. Earn a check. A mind that refuses to grow becomes the bottleneck of its own potential. This kind of knowledge does not come from the crowd. It rarely comes from traditional education. It is not found in standard curriculums or common conversations. Specialized knowledge must often be sought out in obscure books, hard-won experience, focused mentorship, or relentless experimentation. It hides in the details most ignore. It lives in the trenches, not the lecture hall. The person who desires it must go after it, intentionally, relentlessly, sometimes alone. They must be willing to study what others overlooked and practice what others are unwilling to endure. It also requires humility, because specialized knowledge is not the result of mere intelligence. It is the result of discipline. The disciplined learner does not seek entertainment from knowledge. They seek transformation. They are not interested in appearing smart. They are committed to becoming effective. They are willing to admit ignorance, ask questions, and go deep into uncomfortable complexity to extract the truth they need. Ego has no place here. The moment you believe you know enough is the moment your progress begins to decay. Specialized knowledge is not just for scholars or professionals. It is for anyone who wants to win. The athlete who masters the mechanics of their movement and nutrition, the entrepreneur who studies the patterns of consumer behavior and market dynamics, the artist who refines technique and emotional expression, the investor who understands timing, risk, and value. Each of these people becomes dangerous not because they know everything, but because they know enough of the right thing. Depth beats breadth. 1 inch wide and 1 mile deep will always outperform a mind stretched a mile wide but only an inch deep. The surface level dabbler is easily replaced, easily ignored, and easily forgotten. But the person who dives deep into a subject becomes irreplaceable. They become the expert, the authority, the one others seek when it matters most. The market rewards mastery. It does not care how many topics you can speak on. It cares how effectively you can solve a specific problem. And solving that problem requires specialized knowledge. In a competitive world, knowing something is not enough. You must know what others don't. You must bring value others can't. That value is built through targeted study, deliberate practice, and obsession with understanding the hidden layers of your craft. There are no shortcuts here. General knowledge is easy to acquire. Surface understanding is free and available to all. But specialized knowledge demands effort, time, and focus. And that is why it is so valuable, because few are willing to go that deep. Specialized knowledge also protects you from being manipulated by surface-level thinkers. When your mind is sharp in your area of expertise, you are not easily swayed by noise, hype, or misinformation. You become rooted in understanding. You are not at the mercy of headlines or groupthink. You form your own conclusions based on first-hand study and repeated experience. This independence of thought gives you strength. It gets you leverage. It gives you clarity when others are confused. It is not necessary to know everything. It is necessary to know what matters to you and to know it well. Every hour you spend refining your knowledge in the direction of your purpose is an investment that multiplies over time. It compounds. The more precise your knowledge, the more accurate your actions. The more accurate your actions, the faster your results. And the faster your results, the stronger your belief becomes. Specialized knowledge is not just power. It is the control panel of power. Persistence over perfection is the mindset of the builder, the finisher, the one who wins not by flawless execution, but by unstoppable forward motion. The person who values persistence over perfection does not wait for ideal conditions, nor do they obsess over ideal outcomes. They are not crippled by fear of mistakes, nor paralyzed by the illusion of flawlessness. Instead, they move, they act, they adapt, they fall, rise, and continue. Because they know the goal is not to get it perfect. The goal is to get it done, refine it, and keep going until it works. Perfection is seductive. It promises approval. It whispers the idea of being untouchable, beyond criticism, safe from rejection, but it is a lie. Perfection is not only impossible, it is unnecessary. It delays action, it kills momentum, it causes overthinking, endless tweaking, and delayed launches. It wraps the mind in fear, disguised as preparation. It convinces the dreamer to remain in planning mode forever, adjusting details that matter only in theory, while real opportunities pass by untouched. Persistence, by contrast, is raw, it is honest, it is unglamorous, but it gets results. It acknowledges imperfection as part of the process. The person who persists understands that progress comes not from waiting to be ready, but from showing up again and again, regardless of whether they feel prepared. They create in the presence of fear. They launch while uncertain. They write, speak, build, lead, and sell even when the conditions are less than ideal. Because they know the one who keeps moving learns faster than the one who keeps waiting. The difference between success and failure is rarely talent, it is persistence. The world is full of gifted people who never finished what they started, who gave up after their first setback, who abandoned their vision when it stopped being easy. But persistence belongs to the person who keeps going, not because it's easy, but because quitting is unacceptable. It is the person who chooses to show up on the days when the excitement is gone, the support is faded, and the outcome is still unclear. Persistence is not blind repetition. It is intelligent endurance. It is the ability to stay committed while constantly learning. The persistent individual listens to feedback, but does not bow to criticism. They make adjustments, not excuses. They pivot, but they never back away from the core mission. They understand that mastery is not a straight line. It is a jagged, often messy path filled with wrong turns, missteps, and false starts. But they also understand that every wrong move teaches something right. Waiting for perfection is a form of procrastination. It feels productive, it feels responsible, but it is rooted in fear. The fear of not being enough, not being ready, not being accepted. But persistence doesn't require you to be fearless. It only requires you to move forward anyway. It trains you to act even while afraid, to speak even when uncertain, to publish even when you think it could be better, because in motion, things improve. In action, clarity grows. You cannot refine what does not exist. You cannot correct what you never create. The persistent understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is the training ground for it. They embrace the uncomfortable truth that doing something poorly the first time is better than never doing it at all. They do not expect to win every round, but they plan to stay in the game until they do. They see setbacks as part of the structure, not signs to stop. They are less interested in how something looks and more concerned with whether it moves them forward. Perfectionists often chase validation. They want their first version to be applauded, their first attempt to be recognized. But the one who values persistence over perfection has already accepted that the beginning may be rough, may be invisible, may be misunderstood, and yet they keep going. Because their identity is not tied to the reaction of others, it is tied to their commitment to continue. Persistence is how momentum is born. One small step, repeated consistently, becomes a path. One imperfect action, taken daily, builds strength. The mind adapts, the body adjusts, and the spirit toughens. You build your resilience not by reading about it, but by living it, by doing the thing even when it's hard, boring, awkward, or disappointing. Persistence teaches you how to last, and lasting in a world full of quitters becomes your competitive advantage. When you stop chasing perfection, you start producing. You release the project. You make the call, you write the book, you launch the offer, you publish the message, and then you learn, you fix, you upgrade, not from theory, but from practice. Not from speculation, but from response. You grow through iteration, not imagination. You build in real time, not in a vacuum. You evolve while moving, not while waiting. Perfection demands that every piece fits before the picture is clear. Persistence trusts that the picture will reveal itself as the pieces are placed. Persistence moves forward without all the answers. It creates while being watched, judged, and doubted. It understands that mastery is not born in silence, it is forged in public, with witnesses, critics, and mistakes all included. It is not afraid to be seen in the beginning stages because it knows those stages are required. The pursuit of perfection is linear. It waits, it polishes, it hesitates. But persistence is exponential. It compounds, it builds, it accelerates. Every effort, no matter how small, adds weight to the foundation. Every stumble strengthens the legs. Every rough version paves the way for the refined one. The persistent creator, leader, or dreamer does not measure success by how perfect things look, but by how unshakably they continue moving forward. Mastermind alignment is the deliberate act of bringing your vision, your energy, and your mission into union with the minds of others who amplify rather than dilute your power. It is not about simply having people around you. It is about having the right people, those who think in harmony with your direction, challenge you at the right moments, support you without apology, and help expand the boundaries of what you believe is possible. The mastermind is not a casual group. It is a powerful force, a collective intelligence that, when aligned, multiplies your potential far beyond what you could accomplish alone. The individual mind is powerful, but even the strongest mind has blind spots, emotional dips, moments of confusion, fatigue, and doubt. Alone, you may be brilliant, but you are still limited by your perspective. With the right minds joined to yours in clarity of purpose and intention, your reach, depth, and impact expand exponentially. You gain access not only to ideas, but to energy, insight, and resilience that you could never generate by yourself. Mastermind alignment is not additive, It is multiplicative, but alignment is the key. Not all associations create progress. Not all groups of people form a mastermind. A true mastermind requires a shared vibration, a common frequency between minds that are individually responsible but collectively driven. It is not about agreeing on everything. It is about being aligned on the destination and committed to the elevation of everyone within the circle. There is no jealousy here. There is no hidden competition. There is no disguised sabotage. Each person wants to win and wants the others to win too, because success is seen as communal, not comparative. To create mastermind alignment, you must first be clear on your own direction. If you are uncertain, vague, or distracted, you will attract the same. Your level of clarity will determine the caliber of minds you connect with. When you radiate a strong frequency of purpose, you naturally repel those who are misaligned and attract those who are on a similar frequency. Alignment is not forced, it is recognized. The minds that are meant to walk with you will feel like resonance, not resistance. You must also bring value to the circle. A mastermind is not a place to consume, it is a place to contribute. Each aligned member is a source of insight, energy, and accountability. They come with ideas, solutions, perspective, and experience. They do not just sit and absorb. They share. They push. They ask better questions. They offer challenge and support in equal measure. They do not flatter your ego. They sharpen your thinking. And in turn, you sharpen theirs. Mastermind alignment creates a space where big thinking becomes normal, where vision is not judged but cultivated, where success is not just discussed but expected. The conversations are different, the standards are different, the goals are higher, and the language is filled with possibility, not limitation. You begin to speak differently. You begin to think more clearly. You begin to execute with more confidence, not because someone told you to, but because you are now surrounded by those who operate from that same inner code. The aligned mastermind does more than elevate your ideas. It keeps you accountable to your highest self. These are the people who will not allow you to shrink. They will not let you sell yourself short. They see your greatness, even when you temporarily forget it, and they will remind you of your power with words, action, or silence, depending on what is required. They are not always comfortable to be around because they reflect truth, but they are necessary. You must protect the alignment fiercely. One misaligned voice in the mastermind can drain the energy of the whole. Negativity is contagious. So is fear, gossip, envy, and small thinking. One member operating from ego rather than elevation can distort the direction of the group. This is why alignment must be intentional and standards must be enforced. The circle must be curated, not crowded. Every person within it must be chosen based on vibration, not convenience. There is also a spiritual element to mastermind alignment. When two or more minds come together in harmony for a higher purpose, a third invisible mind is created, a kind of collective intelligence that exceeds the sum of its parts. Ideas come faster, solutions appear more clearly, energy rises. What would take one person weeks to solve, the aligned mastermind can crack in minutes. It is not just logic, it is intuition. It is not just conversation. It is co-creation. To receive the benefits of such alignment, you must also commit to the disciplines it demands. Trust must be present. Ego must be minimized. Commitment must be mutual. You must be willing to both speak and listen. You must show up not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. The mastermind thrives on transparency and integrity. When these are present, the group becomes a crucible for growth, a forge for transformation, a sanctuary for the evolution of bold ideas into concrete outcomes. Aligned minds build faster, they recover faster, they learn faster, they execute faster, they do not waste time doubting themselves, because the belief of the group reinforces the belief of the individual. When your vision begins to waver, the group holds it steady. When your energy begins to dip, the group lifts it. When your confidence shakes, the group strengthens it. And when you win, they celebrate it, not from the outside, but as participants in the journey. Mastermind alignment also teaches you how to think at a higher level. You begin to internalize the habits, strategies, and philosophies of those who are operating at the level you aspire to reach. Their thinking becomes part of your mental language. Their standards raise your own. You stop asking, can I, and begin asking, how will I? You stop trying to avoid failure and begin engineering success. The shift is internal, but the catalyst is external. The presence of other aligned minds moving in the same direction.